Just, I know it's 7 games into the season, but overall, what do you think about the way this team has started?
Yeah, listen, we had a great series in Miami, and then Milwaukee, obviously not as good. It's only 7 games, long way to go. We got a lot of injuries, and obviously that's a concern. And so we got to get healthy. But listen, this is a veteran team, a lot of depth. And so, I'm excited by this team, and so we'll see what happens.
Do you appreciate the passion of the fans who are disappointed with the way you've come out of the gate?
Listen, I mean, they're entitled, right? I mean, they're hoping for the best, and they don't want to be disappointed. And but it's a long season. And, we have a tough schedule at the beginning of the season. It's going to be, I think, 17 games on the road, first 23. And so I knew this was going to be, and especially the way they schedule us with day and night games, I knew this was going to be a little bit more difficult. And we'll get through this, and we'll get our players back healthy, and then we'll see what happens.
Steve, do you still believe that this team is equipped to win it all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this team, we've got veteran pitchers. Let's get into the season. Let's not make any, conclusions at a early stage in the season. I think that's probably a mistake. I think last year we got off to a great start and then had a tough September and obviously playoffs. And so, I'd rather finish strong and be prepared for the playoffs.
Steve, you've talked a lot about the bridge between spending now and having the younger players come up. What have you felt about Beatty and Vientos and those guys down there, and how soon you think those guys could be?
Listen, I mean, they're producing down there, and it was the goal to bridge to our younger players coming up and contributing. And so, you don't want to rush players. It's a small sample, and off to a great start. But give them some time. Let them develop in a normal way. We've got really good players on the major league roster, and when the time's right, I'm sure they'll make a contribution.
Steve, you made it clear 7 games is not the time. Do you have a line in the sand where you're like, hey, by this date?
Yeah, 8 games. That's a joke. I said that to Buck today, so I said that's a joke. Okay, so
do you have a line
what?
Like, we have revealed who we are.
Yeah, I leave that to the baseball people. I mean, it's really hard to say. Is it May? Is it June? I don't know. I mean, we'll know it when we see it, and we're also going to be opportunistic. So, if we have to do things to improve the ball club, we will.
Steve, as a guy who's checks out social media and pretty much knows the voice of the fan, are you surprised that after 7 games, the amount of negativity that's out there after only 7 games?
Listen, that's just the way it is. They're entitled. I mean, I tend to be an optimistic person, and so I never. It's sort of the same way, like in my own business, in the hedge fund business. I'll have a bad week, and it doesn't define my year, doesn't define my month, and so it's kind of the same thing. It's a really small sample, and so it's foolish to make conclusions in such a short period of time.
Steve, you've got the highest payroll in the history of baseball by a lot.
Yeah.
Does that come with expectations for this group?
Well, listen, I mean, I knew I was going to bridge, until we have a producing farm system, and clearly we're close. And, listen, players are more expensive than they were a couple years ago. So like I said in previous interviews, I didn't realize we were going to have to go this high. But that's listen, that's what it's going to take to put, I think, a quality team on the field. And, however it turns out, right? I mean, obviously, we got to stay healthy. If we have injuries, that's going to create a problem. And we've had a lot of them in a relatively short period of time. And so hopefully that improves and people get back on the field, and then we'll see what happens.
If Billy and the baseball people deduce that further improvement is needed over the course of the season, coming up in the trade deadline, things like that, how much latitude will you give them to add to that payroll still?
Well, that's TBD. Right, we'll see what's available, and you want to make good deals that are good for the long term as opposed to just the short term. I'm committed to my farm system. I think that's, frankly, the only way that over the long term the payroll is going to come down. I mean, otherwise we'll be at a very high level and lose draft picks and things like that. So, I mean, the goal is eventually. One of the ways I'm going to measure my success as an owner is how well have we developed our prospects? How well we've drafted, It's not just about free agency.